At the outset, I would like to thank Quantic Media for organizing this event today. Cybersecurity is kind of become ever pervasive now. You have moved businesses from the paper world to the automated world to the cloud world. While it does ease doing businesses for organizations, it actually brings in lots of complexities and lot of potential business disruptions. The topic for the panel is by and large covers the entire gamut of things, starting from what are the challenges or how the latest technologies and tools can be used to uh, address these challenges. And in the 1 hour time that we have in the panel and the experts that I have with me, I'll try and do justice in covering and touching upon everything in the most judicious possible manner. Uh, Workplaces have changed, and workplaces have changed drastically in the sense that you used to work at a particular place, go to an office, come back. To some extent, the pandemic changed it all and it made it work from home. Work from home, work from office, two divergent nature of working over a period of time has raised aspiration of businesses to work from anywhere and anytime. So when you work from anywhere, anytime, and the underlying infrastructure actually enables it, 800 million people in India having mobile phones, broadband connectivity. When the underlying infrastructure enables it, at times it becomes very challenging. The entire threat landscape changes, the attack surface increases, and with state getting involved in businesses or economy per se, the attack vectors are becoming far more complex. So before I actually dwell upon the attack vectors and the vulnerabilities per se, let me first go to Virender from Enterprise Gas Limited and get his views on how, with the change in work culture, especially with remote work or work from anywhere, what corporate resources are being consumed and what are the steps that you are taking to actually mitigate or manage attack surfaces that is emerging because of work from anywhere.
Thank you, sir. So, as sir already rightly said, you can work from anywhere. Earlier, there was a boundary. You have a secured perimeter environment. You work in that environment. But as per the business needs, and especially during the pandemic time, uh, business by force they have to run the show, and that's why they opted to work from home or remote work. But at the same time, for the security teams, during that period, the incident of cyber data breaches increased multifold. So there were several challenges, and the work of the cyber security teams all increased due to all these incidents. So there are several challenges faced by the security teams due to the environment, which was not up to that mark, like people work from home during that period. uh, they use unsecured network, public network as well, hotspots, and the end user devices. The people use their own personal devices as well during that period, which were not properly patched or up to date. Due to that, there were several incidents related to data breaches as well. Apart from this, users or the end users were not aware up to that mark how to work in remote environment to access the corporate resources securely. Sometimes people download sensitive information of their business, and the information due to unawareness reached from their end devices. So, as per as per recent research, also it was the remote work environment also posed was one of the cause of increase in cyber incident as well. Due to all these factors, unsecure network, unpacked devices, unawareness of users, and there were not proper data protection policies or program at the corporate level. Due to that, people don't know what are the sensitive information which they should access or shared or not to share. So these are some of the factors which cause challenges for the teams, security teams especially. And accordingly, from these lessons, people start uh, working on the area to protect their corporate resources and accessibility in a secure manner so that there should not be such incidents.
Thank you, Virendra. I think you have covered the attack surface in far more granularity, the increase in attack surface in far more granularity than probably I would have brought it out, starting from the on-premise location to the anywhere location using public Wi-Fi. Now that we have touched upon the attack surfaces, let's look at what kind of solutions are available. Are there any kind of solutions which are available? And I will look to answer these questions from the solution provider, Mr. Ajay Kumar Joshi. Mr. Joshi, what is happening is, as I said, the threat vectors are getting more complex. You have these persistent attacks, you have this ransomware, the new kid on the block. You have targeted phishing, spear phishing, and name the kind of phishing that is emerging. So, what kind of solutions exist where people can actually, or where organizations, which can be leveraged by organizations to ensure a better cyber defense posture?
Sure. I think I would like to say that the solutions as well as the policies and probably the what the CISOs are thinking today, because probably the approach has now changed from a individual solution to probably how comprehensively they can actually provide the outcome. The end outcome is how they can protect the networks and prevent the cyber attacks. So I've got few pointers. The first of all, I would say like ideally they should simplify their technology infrastructure, because instead of going for like too many tools, because then it becomes difficult to manage multiple tools. But overall the approach should be if it is a comprehensive integrated tool which is giving probably lightweight, easy to manage, and basically give the results. I think that is the first I think approach the CISO should have. Then second thing is establishing a very robust cyber security strategy or policies, because unless you have like a very detailed um, drafted policy which further can be expanded considering the different departments, because there is a basic strategy policy when it comes to remote access, what access should be given, how the remote work policy has to be drafted. Depending on the various different departments, we can further tweak it. So this is another thing. Then coming to the solution part, definitely when we talk about latest threats, so obviously we should have a very effective endpoint security solution, and we should deploy EDR like solutions which actually will be able to track and prevent targeted attacks or APDs. Because mere endpoint antivirus solution can actually take care of regular threats, normal threats, but in case of targeted attacks, you need to keep on monitoring your network on a consistent basis. So this is about when it comes to endpoint security. And then talking about, I think I would also suggest multi-factor authentication, because it sounds probably basic solution, but that actually to a very certain extent, it allows companies to keep control basically the remote access work. Because if you're allowing your team to work remotely, definitely you need to ensure that the credentials are not there. Even if their credentials are leaked, unfortunately, the cyber criminals should not be able to take advantage of that, and with multi-factor authentication, we can control that. Similarly, I think the most important part is getting the trainings an awareness for the employees, because what are the threats they normally have, like if they are clicking on any new links, normally from coming from unknown sources or to phishing attacks, so they should not click it, or they should not download any emails attachment coming from the unknown sources. So these are like hygiene, cyber hygiene they should use. So these are various, I would say, the practices and policies coupled with the latest technologies that prevent the cyber attacks.
Thank you, Ajay. So Ajay, what effectively is done is instead is brought out that you have a solution, you have a product. That product needs to be used, so you need to have a policy and a strategy to be put in place. And finally, who is the user? The end user, you need to make him aware how to comply with the policy, cybersecurity strategies, and end business objectives of the organization, and thereby make yourself safe. So that's fairly logical. All of us kind of subscribe to the same idea. Now, I would like to look at it from a different perspective, and from the perspective of a user, someone in the transportation business. How does Mohit put these suggestions to use at Oryx? So Mohit, how do you put these solutions to use at Oryx to become more safe?
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, preventing or mitigating any kind of attack, it's a responsibility of both the things. First is the technical controls, like he mentioned about phishing simulation, or what you call the advanced threat protection that is there in the uh, exchange or the office, because anything can come from uh, there are a variety of routes where the attack threat vectors can come, and you have to educate your end user in such a way that so there are multiple tools available in market now, and which actually do the phishing simulation on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, or even you can do daily basis as well, and it will maintain a record of each and every employee, that who is the vulnerable employee, and accordingly you can mold your trainings. So whenever I give the training, I tell them that you should not click on any link. So they are saying I'm just clicking. It should not be a worry. But uh, after clicking the link, if you are entering your credentials, submitting your credentials on a non-authenticated website, then it's a crime. But even clicking on a link can bring ransomware to your machine. It can download something. So there are technical checks in terms of advanced threat protection on the Outlook or Office 365. Plus, you have to educate the users that clicking on the link is also a dangerous thing, and in fact putting your credentials is a crime nowadays, because you are sharing your identity with the others. So it's a mixed blend, not about the only fancy tools. You have to educate the user, plus doing a phishing simulation activity, ransomware simulation activity. So all this will give you a comfort that yes, I am actually safe. I'm safeguarding myself from the phishing or the other latest threats. Plus, in some way, you have to look at the you need the leadership support as well in implementing all these things. Plus, the identity and access management. If you see that, if for example so many persons are lying or the access are enabled, the users are not on the basis of need to know basis, or if the user has exited but still some part of application, these access is still available. So the centralized monitoring of the identities, whether through PIM or PAM solution or other any other identity access management, it's the need of an hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit. You touched upon very sensitive subjects. One is buy-in by the leadership. I think all those who are here on any side of the table, whether they are from the solution provider side or the CISOs who are vested with the responsibility of maintaining cyber security or cyber information security, have this challenge that buy-in from the leadership is very important. And when I say buy-in from the leadership, in effect, I actually mean driven by the leadership, because at the end of the day, whatever you get is being given by the leadership, which you can implement on the ground. So that was one very sensitive topic that you probably touched upon. Another very interesting thing that you touched upon was identity. And in identity, what by and large, many organizations have, especially closed organizations, limited organizations, have kind of put some kind of infrastructure to manage identity in place. But there are business cases, use cases which are emerging by the day, and regulatory compliances are required to ensure that. And one very interesting thing that I saw was online gaming. On one side, you have the identity of the platform providers, the entire business is providing the solution or the gaming experience. On the other side, you have numerous customers, subscribers who subscribe to these gaming apps. So I would want to come to Siddharth. Siddharth, how do you employ identity-related tools, and maybe leveraging on MFA is what Ajay touched upon, identity-related tools, especially in the world of online gaming?
Thanks, Ajay. So I'll actually continue from where Mohit left off, right? Specifically when you talk about identity, IAM, and then MFA being a very critical part of it, right? So, I mean, I take a use case from my organization, Bazi Games. We at Bazi, I mean, we have all online gaming applications, and it becomes very critical for us to make sure that a user who's logging into the application and playing games is a genuine user, first of all. And even more critical is that to make sure that there are no vulnerable elements that can enter the infrastructure, enter the system, and the user can have the sense of final judgment that, yeah, I'm playing with a real user, I'm playing in a real environment, right? Uh, Over the time, MFA has been, grown out from the context things that we used to have hard tokens initially, then authenticators came along, and now what we personally feel, and this is something which we recently implemented in our one of the major releases when we unveiled PokerBazi 4.0, biometrics. Like, so, finger scans, face scans, eye scans, these become very important in terms of enabling better MFA, right? Because your passwords can be cracked, your OTPs can also be hacked these days. But these biometrics give the user more real authentication in terms of a confidence that, okay, my own fingerprints or my face scans are being used to authenticate me as a user, as a genuine user over the platform. When I spoke about password authentication, so all those things have been over the years a very disruptive and discussion based answer that my password can be hacked, like I mentioned. So removing that factor altogether gives it more importance to have those channels coming into the picture which cannot be hacked or cannot be easily attacked by a malicious user or a vulnerable element. Then again, bringing in the factor of AI, if I may say that, because AI is everywhere now, right? So you cannot leave anything specifically in terms of cybersecurity. Keeping the AI element outside is not possible. So how AI is helping us in this case is it is helping us evolve from the user activity. So in our platforms, we keep a very strict check that, okay, if a user is playing a game, so is the mouse moving in a particular pattern or not? Is the user tapping on a particular button again and again or not? So these things give us the data from a user perspective, whether it is a genuine user or whether it is a bot. So we always try to make and ensure that the bots are at bay from in terms of the platform. But keeping these checks makes very important for us to bring in the AI flavor, which actually sends the data of the user activity. How many times the user is logging a day, what activities is the user performing, what is the favorite option that the user is checking. So from these user behavior patterns, we have defined those algorithms which help us keep a track from the beginning to the end of a user session to make sure that those elements of bringing in the user perspective in MFA works towards authentication and towards making sure that there is no suspicious activity happening over the system. Then one thing what I would say that continuously authenticating is again important. Like I mentioned that once a user is logged in, and like Mohit was also mentioning, if let's say at in some different browser, in some different device, you have left the device open, you left the application running, you have left your session running. So keeping those sessions, monitoring those sessions together, making sure if the device user is logging out from one device, the entire sessions are being logged out. All the sessions are being checked at a particular time when a user is working on it. So those continuous system of not just authenticating the user using the MFAs at once, but also tracking the entire activity to make sure that that particular genuine user is playing from different platforms. So likewise, I would say that biometrics being one of it, and then using AI to capture user data and understanding behaviors is what we have implemented and has helped us a lot in terms of improving the NC.
Thank you, Siddharth. What you just said is again, I would say, very intriguing, because what you bring out is that now identity is not is being those days of Active Directory and LDAP as just one identity, uh, one single source of truth, uh, do not exist in isolation. They now exist through a chain. And when you're talking of that chain, you're talking of intermediary algorithms, use of leveraging of tools like AI, and then at the end of the day, at the far end, some kind of equipment where you are verifying the biometrics or capturing different biometric patterns or integrating with even say in context Aadhaar-based authentication system, another authentication system. So now the two authentication systems in which you operate. Uh, what this does is the ecosystem enlarges. It brings in lot many third-party associations, and when you bring in third-party associations, you actually again alone that will increase your risk. So I would want to go to Dr. Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf, you are spread across two continents and multiple business verticals. Each business vertical, business use case, business kind, different strategy to protect the information infrastructure. So I want to know what safeguards have you put in, or would you recommend to actually guard against these third parties or vendors who come in, who have whose solutions you adopt, who at times manage your solutions, and what kind of controls you exercise over them and audit that you exercise over them to keep the ecosystem safe.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is a very interesting and very common challenge that any of the organizations facing is their third party, because largely the operations, uh, IT operations is outsourced. We all know that, and we have to live with our third parties, vendors, suppliers, partners. In such a scenario, how do we ensure that our data is protected? Of course, uh, if anything goes wrong, who's accountable? It's not the third party. You can always penalize the third party, but you are accountable. So you have to safeguard your data at any touch point that the third parties have. They have access to your ERPs, they have access to your critical data center, they have access to the cloud. The amount of access the third party has more than you itself as an parent organization. So we are, of course, uh, what they're doing, how they're doing has to be monitored. There's no question about the access part, whichever, because they keep on changing, people coming and going from the operations team, right? And very important to understand, to create a profile of your third party, right? Various cat, because you know that you can't assess, you can't do a risk assessment for 400 odd suppliers who are serving you, but you know, out of 400, which are the most important, the most critical suppliers who have access to the most of the sensitive data. So that's where the classification of the third parties have to be done. Unless you don't know the visibility of your third party, usually don't know, because many of the vendors, for example, shadow IT, right? So IT doesn't have the visibility of shadow. Who's the business gets a contract with them, sign off, and they have access to that critical business systems, which usually IT not. So you need to address that first, because that's where the problem lies, because you don't know who's the third party, and one fact the third party gets breached, and you all of a sudden know this person is we don't know about that, we have not been aware. So but that's too late actually. So tying up with your supply chain is very important, right? They should have the awareness that there is a third party who are getting contractually signed. Do they have access to our data? That's the first question the supply chain should ask. I think that's what that they need to ask, and then let the security team take the next step. Evaluate the level of controls that the third party has, the maturity of security that they have. So that's the security team. So assessment would happen at the time of onboarding a third party, during the course of the engagement, and of course when the third party is disengaged, because they would be having a lot of data. How do we ensure that whatever data that they have access have been taken off, right, from us? And especially from IT side, right? How are you provisioning the access? What are the methods and technologies that you need? So largely, if your third party is accessing your data center or data specific, don't let the data go out of the organization. Give them VDI so that your data remains with you, right? That's very important to limit the attack surface with the third party, because you can't just provide laptops or desktop to access your third party or give connectivity to your network to the third party. That's a lot of risk unless you have done a lot of assessment and the third party. You should not be allowing access to the third party. And of course, from monitoring perspective, you have to ensure that every action, every abnormality is being identified, being fed into the SOC from third party perspective. So that's regular monitoring, and of course, basis on the criticality of the third party, whether it's a tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3, you need to do regular assessment. So the most tier 1 has to be done most stringently. So that's the way that I think you would be able to create an ecosystem of control over third parties. If you can't control your third parties, I'm really sorry to say, you would not be able to control your data, because they are the one who has access, more access to it than yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwin. Of the things that you said, what I hear on the underlining or the underpinning of your entire uh, set of thoughts is that whom are you giving the access? And if you are giving access, monitor. What emerges is the word trust. Are you giving access to someone who is trusted? And if he is trusted, you still need to monitor him what he is doing. And when we come towards trust, what a new word or a new solution is moving around in the market, has been for quite some time, and it's zero trust. I would want to move to Mr. Patel from NTPC, a huge organization, government organization, where you have people who are permanent employees, you have people who are on contract, and then you have some temporary employees who come ad hoc, go here and there. Everyone, for the purpose of business and business continuity, needs access to the information infrastructure. How do you manage trust, or should I say zero trust, at NTPC? Thank you.
When we say zero trust, we must see. I define as you understand, as I understand zero trust. Zero trust is a concept. In earlier scenarios, we are trying to control, or for that matter, monitor or govern the connectivity procedures, connectivity or the area what to control and what to see. Unlike earlier network-centric approach, the zero trust, what I feel is identify what you want to protect, whom you protect, where you want to protect. Like in what we can say data, device, or certain set of information you want to protect. That means those data, those device, those system or those processes must be accessed by the person whom you want to give access. Then for whom, who, that means when we define what side, we must define also who side. That means my earlier speakers told about identity management. You have to have a robust identity management, because you have to define who, then what, then where you want them to be, where from you will allow access or not allow access, or what they can do. Now, piecing all, when we add all these things, what I think is first identify your asset and data and this thing, because this zero trust is perimeterless. There is no perimeter.
Now, what we have done for this is, or doing for that matter, because it is always constant upgradation, we are also still evolving. And the first thing is, the first and primary thing is who is going to access from remote access. Remote access is most important thing, even during COVID, because in perimeter you have some sort of control, but who is accessing from outside? Now we have some zero trust based VPN access, in which no user is coming to your network. That means there is no incoming entry towards your network, your devices. It is only there is only one outgoing connection from a device or some broker or some proxy, you can say, towards the cloud, and it connects to cloud, and that way they your required access is very micro level. You have to define which process, which service they will access, which server they will access, which activity they will access. That is defined. So that way we are having a quite good sense of control over who is accessing what. We have definite, we can say, give granular control of a specific process of a server to a third party without worrying about where else he is going. That is one part. Second is, one part is going to internet. Now browsing, even we need to allow access from organization to outside. That normally is done through proxy servers in normal organization. Now one way of looking is, you can say, cloud proxy. That means your user you have onboarded through identity management, proper identity management. That includes your permanent employee, your temporary employee, contractual employee, even partners or service providers. Everything you have perfect identity management. For instance, we are using Mr. M365 Tech for this Azure AD Connect. Now, this cloud proxy helps in that direction. Cloud proxy is one thing where you would define where someone can go. Unlike in earlier scenario, we need to configure each and every proxy server manually. Now cloud, there is a standard setup. Still, it requires manual intervention, but there is a certain level of security, or it is secure to that extent. That is basically part of SASE, you can say, secure access service edge. Now identity part, I have told it has to be perfect. Identity has to be perfect. Then all your applications or software. Now we are moving some of our workload to cloud. Now in cloud, what we are practicing is, again, in cloud context, earlier this web and DNS servers, authoritative DNS, are normally on-prem. That means if someone is, because you cannot restrict DNS, if you are having DNS at your end, you don't know who is accessing that, because it will be open for all. Now maintaining security of it is very difficult on-prem. Similarly, web, everybody is coming. That means everybody is coming to your premise. So what we have planned is to take these services to cloud, to secure cloud, secure location, authoritative DNS and web, so that all cloud user, anybody coming from internet will go there. Only curated and restricted traffic will come to the premise. That means we have effectively, we are effectively minimizing our threat surface in cloud. So in effect, zero trust means what I feel is, define your assets or assets, data and device or whatever. Define the persons going to access it or mechanism, rather than monitoring, and proper monitoring has to be there, of course, rather than monitoring the processes that, and network centric approach. Thank you. Thank you, Akshay. Thank you so much. What I'm again hearing, or what everyone over here would also be experiencing, is that the attack surface is becoming so large, so large, so large, probably the surface area of the earth itself, that it is difficult to manage by humans. Humans are by nature designed to trust, where you say don't trust as solution. They're by nature designed to identify identities in a particular manner, where the system says do it in a different manner. Again, go towards zero trust. Uh, Gen AI has emerged quite a bit in this field, and I'll take a cue from Siddharth, who mentioned about the use of AI in securing the cyberspace. Let me now move to Manmeet. Manmeet, how do you think AI can be leveraged by organizations to stay ahead, catching up? Uh, so catch up at the fastest with the cyber threats that are emerging.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So definitely, as Siddharth also well said, that AI is emerging nowadays. And I would like to emphasize here that AI is friend and foe both nowadays. Because if I talk about the previous year data, that almost 4.5 million breaches was happen, $4.5 million cost was occurred to the organizations all over the world because of the breaches. In US terms, it was just double, right? So why it was increased? That is, everyone knows there are three, four major factors: ransomware, then again data breaches, losses, right? And IoT related breaches was happened. But now AI is, as I said, it's a friend and for both. So because of the AI now, who are the not enough mature in the cybersecurity space, everybody can create the malware in just span of time. If he knows some algorithm or something like that, he can create a major blaster, right? In the IT industry. So it is upon the people how we are leveraging it, how we are utilizing it. If we are enough mature to know what are the algorithms we should apply to protect, so then definitely we can protect from the any kind of breaches there. So in terms of the AI, lot of things is happening nowadays. That if I talk about Chat GPT, people are aware that there is a clear myth also that Chat GPT is the AI. But nowadays, what what basically we can do that to just understand what are the kind of threats is happening, just to take the calculative call on a very I would say timely manner, which can reduce the time to act to any incident, any breach which is going to be happen in the organization. So faster decisions can be taken, and that is the reason why the cyber security threats has been decreased in last 3 4 months, because people are now enough smarter to take that call. What are the decisions we have to take? Another side is helping the organizations to create a playbook uh, for each and every threat. And if anything is going to be wrong happen, then people are well aware that what are the things we have to take care. In AI, basically, that machine learning is basically subset of the AI, and machine learning is nothing. It is working on the data. Whatever the data is available, right? There is a huge data is available, and but being a human being, we don't know what are the data which we need to use, and when and how we can protect and how we can utilize in the better manner way. Machine learning is helping us to identify what are the quantum of data can be useful from that content itself, and based on that we can create a playbook, we can create a faster response. And if we very well communicate to the all the employees, and we are doing proper mock drill and everything, then because of the AI and the automation again is a subset of the machine learning, with the help of the automation, definitely the attack surface will be reduced lot. And that is the reason why now people have seen in the end, industry leaders also have seen that attack surface has been reduced compared to the previous year, right? Last year, if I'm not wrong, more than 400 million cyber attacks were happened, right? One of the report I was referring that now it has been drastically reduced, and AI is definitely helping us to reduce those things. Another side, because it's a basically red or blue team game. Hackers are more smarter than us. Then we have to increase our knowledge. People have to be smart enough to how they can leverage the AI technology to create a strong defense mechanism. And because of and with the help of that, then definitely it will be helpful. Now, people also have myth that AI will replace the humans, right? But I feel that it is we are far behind away to replace the humans because of the AI. Because AI is just working on the data, whatever is available in the digital era, right? It cannot apply the human brain mm, in a circumstances that where the data is not available in the digital era. Only the human can apply the brain on the circumstances and certain scenarios where actually we require what kind of decision making need to be there. Definitely, AI is helping the people to make the faster decision making. On the other side, if we know the right algorithm, right uh, options, like and people are basically putting their energy to learn the AI technology to create a strong defense mechanism. Definitely, it will help us, and it is helping organizations, and that is one of the.
Thank you, Manmeet. Though at the cost of some time, we'll get slightly anecdotal. Uh, Till about a year back, there was a report from a Western media that India becomes a hub for providing cyber threats and exploits as a service. Some even called it as a ransomware as a service, and it is supposed to be a niche market. Anyone providing this kind of service has to have very great understandings of both defensive and offensive mechanisms of cybersecurity. Uh, the other day when I was there in one of the colleges talking about the subject and leveraging AI, there was this inquisitive young kid who said, "Sir, why do I need these threats and exploits as a service when I can just ask one of these generative AI programs, ChatGPT, etc., to write down a malware for me?" And it was a very intriguing question. The only thing was whether the malware functions in the manner that you want and are you able to control it to the extent that you want. He went ahead and he said, "Would I even write a ransomware using one of these and probably use it to exploit organizations?" What I'm again coming to is here are these tools which are available, which now, and here is a set of inquisitive young lot of kids, even for that matter, oldies who are interested, who have very simple tool available to them who says, "Write me a program for ransomware," and you have a ransomware dropped on your machine, push it somewhere using an exploit, and you have a captive business house which can be extorted for ethical, unethical gains. So it is working both ways. So, and again, I'll go back to Dr. Yusuf, who has probably a great interest in AI, on throwing some light on how AI is working on both sides as a positive for cybersecurity and also a challenge for implementing cybersecurity. And how can we leverage AI, at least as those who are in the business of defending the infrastructure, to improve our incident response and recovery times? So let's have a thought of this.
Yeah, I think it's a very apt question in the current scenario, wherein AI is definitely going to be AI in cybersecurity is going to be a game changer in the next 2 to 3 years. Because if you see the amount of volume of data that is being processed or being feed or ingested into your threat monitoring system is going twofold every day. So, right, in advent of IoT being added to your log, your OT systems are getting logged, ingested into your SIM. So, how difficult is would be to manage this quantum of information which is getting generated or the data which is getting? How do you infer and make it as an actionable intelligence is a big question, because the currently all the SOCs are overwhelmed now because the analysts, because I happen to actually meet them and all, it's really difficult to for them, practically not possible for monitoring millions or thousands of alerts, qualifying and triaging it to an incident, it's a big journey that they have to, and of course they are bound to actually get missed. That's where the AI comes into picture. How you actually incubate AI in your SOC or your threat monitoring is the biggest. I think that's the first thing that the organization should do. Just adopt that, because the amount of volume of data is going to grow, and you can't rely on your L1 and L2 analysts to respond and uh, take the next step, right? So it's a lot of burden, right? And a lot of burnout which is happening right now. And of course, the other side, the dark side of the I think let's just focus on it. I think focus on what you can actually leverage and protect your organization. Put the basics into your, get everything visible to you. If you don't know your assets, it's very, how are we going to protect it, right? Once you know your asset, then you have to understand what is normal and what is abnormal. That's why AI will come into picture, right? Uh, because it's very difficult to, for a human to identify if a certain behavior which is abnormal or normal. That's where something that you can actually incubate AI to tell us what is normal or what is abnormal, and then act upon it the next level, and let the human comes and take that intelligence and take the action, because it's a combination of both AI and human intelligence. There's no comparison to it, and AI never replaces the human intelligence, because the context is something that AI will not be able to understand, right? Which would be different for different organizations, different scenarios. That's where human intelligence comes into picture, and uh, I think that's where is very imperative for the organization to understand their profile. Where do we stand overall in the threat landscape, right? Attack surface will, I don't have any control. Neither we should actually target the attack surface. Well, let's actually focus on how we can reduce and protect the ever evolving attack surface. Is going to be growing twofold. So let's just focus on reducing it, putting the basics, and getting into AI into the tasks which are very repetitive in nature. At the SOC side, it can be definitely being addressed through AI, and let the more advanced threat analysis to be done by the SOC analyst rather than the repetition task, abnormal and normal behavior. Let the AI do that job, because many of the playbooks which are currently created are so common in nature, right? But making it contextual, that's where the intelligence needed, because you have to tell AI this is what the playbook, this is the situation, how the AI would tell us to take the next action. So, very interesting subject. I think we can talk at length the entire day on this subject. How are you going to actually incubate and introduce AI? What are the use cases that can be introduced into your organization? I think very important to understand the risk landscape that the organization has, and then capability. What kind of technology stack that you have, right? Too many technologies is another big challenge organized companies are facing, right? There's a new technology, let's adopt it. But practically, if you see how efficient those technologies being used is another question. Implementing is very easy. You just buy and then implement. But how you going to leverage and get the best of the technology or the tool is very important, and the skill requirement, right? So if you're adding more technology, you need more skilled people to drive that technology, which is going to be very challenging, right? I can't ask one person in my team who has 10 technologies to handle to be expert, right? So the trend has actually good. I don't have to be expert. I have to be a jack of all. I have to, otherwise I can't sustain, because the resources are so limited. You won't get the team to be skilled. That's where your outsourcing comes into the picture. So I think it's a holistic approach. Combination of AI definitely will have skilled people, lesser amount of, I would say, the tools landscape. Rather than the threat landscape, is the tool landscape have to be reduced. Adopt SASE. You don't have to running around 10 different agents in a machine. One is your EDR, one is your backup, one is your asset. You have a DLP running, you have a CASB running. It's a whole chaos that we are creating. So how you can reduce that? That's very important to reduce your threat landscape, along with reducing your tools landscape. So we have a unified architecture, so we are able to manage it more efficiently. Single policy is driving all those technologies. So that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Another pain point that you touched while addressing the question was the need for the challenge that L1, L2 can't be expected to do certain things, and need for contextualized human intelligence, which brings up the question of the skills available in the industry, and the shortage of the skill, where you outsource, hoping that the outsourced person is a better skill than me. That also is a hope. I don't know how far. I personally am struggling with this. Believe more than 80-85% people in this segment are struggling on this aspect. But I would want to hear from Virender, how is your organization addressing skill shortages?
Actually, skill shortage is not industry specific. It's globally level. At global level, everybody is facing this kind of shortage of skill sets. So at global level, the shortage around 60%, and in India we are in some better position, around 40% shortage of expert resources. So at our organization, we are handling with our in-house team. We are involved in some outsourced team as well, manpower, and we have opted for the SOC services, managed SOC services, because we have limited resources. So we have opted mix match or hybrid kind of services, so that we can manage our environment smoothly. But at the same time, there is challenges which security teams are facing, because this is very critical jobs and hectic as well, and there is attrition rate is very high because of shortage of the resources. So, and there is mental stress as well in this job, and as per the study, several people, or the around 20-25% people are looking to switch their career path as well. So the problem is for a organization only, it's at country level or global level. So everybody needs to think about this area and provide healthy and comfortable environment for the security teams to work, because it's a 24/7 type job. You are never off job. Once you are going for a holiday or you are sick, you have to take care of that part as well. You are never off duty. So top management or the leaders across the domains or the industry, they should come together and fight for because security teams are like security warriors, I want to say. They are also a kind of army. People are fight for borders, but we are virtually protecting our digital assets or country assets, important critical assets. So, and as per there are some legal challenges also, because it's as per the certain guidelines. You have to report incident in 6 hours, otherwise you may go behind the bar also. So there are several challenges. So it's a global issue, and everybody needs to contribute this side and think about this area.
Thank you, Virender. I think the best or the high point of the entire discussion has been what Virender has said. CISOs can take leave. They can go on vacation, which is a possibility. So that's great. Before we actually summarize or close the panel, I would want to probably open the session or panel to the house. If there are any questions anyone would want to throw, the panel is available. Oh my God. Before I complete volunteering, there are 2 questions and it's already up. We are in for a difficult time.
Hello everyone, myself Armeet Singh from Midland Credit Management. Thank you for a healthy discussion. So my question is to Dr. Hashmi. So you talk in length and breadth of the AI. It's a good thing that we can leverage it, and with the introduction of ISO 2023 last year, it gives a sort of a framework which gives a cushion to safeguard and start implementing AI. My question is on the dark side. There could be a possibility of the new ways that the bad elements can leverage AI and how deeply it can impact the environment or the organizations, even which we can never think of. So, any thoughts of yours on the darkest side, the new ways of attacks, which probably we can witness in coming years?
See, I discussed that. Something which is not visible to you is very difficult to see that what's happening around the dark web, because anyhow we don't know what's happening in dark. Who's the adversaries which are working towards this development capability that is being developed? I'm sure there are multiple adversaries already started working towards building those models, right, in different threat landscape and threat areas. So uh, unless actually there's a visible threat model, which is going to be very difficult to understand what the learning, what's uh, the model which is being used, right? And it's going to be taking some time before it starts. 1 or 2 years it will take to see that. By the time quantum computing will come into picture, right? So I think that's one of the areas. Then if you incubate AI strength with the quantum computing, you will be able to actually manage a lot of critical algorithm which are getting generated. We would be able to address that. But speculating what's happening around the world in that, I'm sure that it would be visible one day, for sure, one or two. When you see that, and the impact would be humongous, because it's not human which is actually triggering your lateral movement or doing a recon, right? It's the AI model which are doing across, right? Shodan or something like that. So, uh, which is already happening. So, if they are taking step-by-step approach in the entire threat landscape, right from recon to the exploitation and do phishing and all, till the lateral movement and the command and control is taken. So there's stepwise which is being taken, where, because they can't apply it across the entire threat landscape, micro attack or whatever. So that's what is happening. So to address that, of course, we are in a very primitive state. So the best thing is to actually strengthen our attack surface as much as possible, put the right technologies in place. Identity is something which has to be protected across. That's the first priority of zero trust that need to be in place. MFA is a lifesaver for all of us. Even though the password gets compromised, thousands of the password get compromised, because I know the user will repeat that password in some other, it will get disclosed in the dark web. So let's forget about strong or weak password. Let's put MFA across your organization. That's the only savior that we have. And it's going to take a lot of time before the adversary will start tracking your MFA, which is very difficult, to be honest, right? When you actually put multi-factor, you put over that conditional access, right? So if I'm accessing my system today in the morning at my office, tomorrow I go to a customer place, then I should get authenticated. Zero trust. So identity is the core. If you can protect the identity, that's where the thing, everything happens. Credentials. How can you protect your critical privilege credentials? So that would be itself the most important aspect, to protect your privilege. And those privileged users are your third party. Just keep in mind. So it's always going to be your privileged users would be the third parties who are managing your show. So how do we protect that? So that's focus on those areas. I think we should be able to crack it.
Thank
I
you.
think just add to it, and what Dr. Yusuf has said. What Dr. Yusuf has said is basically focus on the defenses. At the end of the day, it's a war. And if you look at evolution of war, it started with Paidal Sena, Ghursavar, Tir Kaman, to artillery coming in balls of fire, artillery coming in modern day weaponry, to now space battles. At the end of the day, whom are you protecting? You're protecting yourself. You have identified area that you want to protect. So defense becomes very important. Fundamentals of defense don't change. And all AI, quantum, these are technologies they will effectively serve as tools on both sides. As long as you are focused on the fundamentals of defense, I think you are in safe zone. One last question before we had this. One is someone said.
This is Jan from Geoplatforms Limited. My question to sir, like we discussed that to safeguard the environment, we must include the safety kind of platforms and integrating that with the cloud and on-premises setup. They also increase the cost, and it becomes sometimes very difficult to justify that how to reduce the cost for cybersecurity components and all. And like management leadership, the CIOs, they like struggle a lot to justify that why we actually require this kind of functionalities or this kind of features, because as you said, the landscape is increasing day by day. So the safeguarding devices or the services, they are also becoming very costlier, right? So how you guys would like to take this thing into management, that to justify that the cost for purchasing this kind of software and safeguarding the.
Do I talk in closed circles on this? Let me go public today. Ransomware is a boon. Ransomware is a boon, at least for those people who have this challenge. Till now, you could never put a cost to a cyber threat. Now you have examples of ransomware hitting bottom lines, and your leadership or the boardrooms are worried about bottom line. So first problem solved. Now the second problem is how much. How much is a very difficult question because it is, and I'm not saying because it's a management jargon, it depends, but because at the end of the day, you have to decide what is your risk trade-off. 100% तो कभी नहीं होगा. And since our childhood, we have been looking at this saturation graph, which around 70% then starts to flatten out now about how much resource you put in. The benefit that you get is very incremental and delta is very small. So management, the CIOs, the CISOs together have to probably sit and identify where on that saturation graph would they want to put their acceptable risk line. So combination of both acceptable risk and the cost of ransomware that is already available in public should address the problem. I think we are going beyond time. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for being a wonderful, passionate and patient audience. And a big thanks to all my panelists for sharing their views on this topic. Thank you.